Happy Valentine's Day, people. I don't celebrate Valentine's Day, but I did actually have a lovely Valentine's Day with my son. Um, we just spent all day playing, and then I gave him a bunch of new books that he wanted. He had picked out from the Scholastic Book Fair, which is so weird to be ordering books from the Scholastic Book Fair. It's very surreal. I don't know. I don't know if a lot of parents feel like this, but I still trip out on the fact that I have a son. I mean, he'll be 6 in like 3 weeks. So, 6 years of this, and it still blows my mind. I still, can't really believe it. It's amazing and weird and super surreal to do these things that are such parenty things to do, like ordering books from the Scholastic Book Fair. So anyway, he'd order some books. I was very happy that they came in the day before. So for Valentine's, I gave him those books, and we read all of them that day. It was very fun. And I made us cheeseburgers and fries, and we watched Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And I made him his first banana split. It was great. There was just so much fun, and it's it's cool seeing the memories as you're making them, like knowing like, oh, this is going to be a memory for him. But Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, like I love that movie. I used to watch it all the time, and it still holds up. It's still as good as I remember, and it's still as fun, and it's a well-made movie. It's very simple and direct, and there was like a kind of a magical time in the 80s. The movie came out in 89, where the movies they were writing and making, obviously there's a lot of bad movies in the 80s too, but as far as like the movies that still hold up and are genuinely good, they were able to tell a very broad adventure story in 90 minutes and very succinctly. If you look at any of the movies that like you love, if you are a child of the 80s, all of those movies are 90 minutes, and they do so much, and it's awesome. It was awesome to watch. He was really into it. He was super excited about it. One thing I forgot, like I remembered the ant. I remember that they made friends with an ant. I didn't, however, remember, spoiler alert, that ant gets murdered by a scorpion. I didn't remember that, which sucked. And then I also didn't remember, like I knew that the boy and the girl got together. The Rick Moranis' daughter, and then the neighbor's son, the older son, who didn't want to play football. I remember that they got together, but I didn't remember that they just like they kiss, but they instantly start French kissing hard. There's no like light kiss and then it ramps up to something. It's just like, we're going to kiss, and they instantly go at it, which was another thing the 80s did really well, which was portray kids as they were, or as we were. Like, we swore, a lot of us getting into like smoking, or we were, stealing our parents' alcohol. Like these were all things that they would show in the movies that they definitely don't show now. And yeah, I don't know. They just like, you were allowed to be both a kid and verging on adult behavior, but not understanding it, and they would show that. And I felt it was a little more honest and fun. It's way more fun when you see like watching, like I showed my son like just like the first quarter of Goonies. He wanted it to stop once like they got into the hideout, and then the mother comes in. He was like, no, I'm done. And I was like, yeah, dude, I don't blame you. She's terrifying. But like, they say shit and ass, and they cuss. They like, they're horny all the time. Like it's like typical teenage or preteen stuff. And they in the 80s, they were pretty transparent with it, which I love. So anyway, watched Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. It was great. and had banana splits, and it was just so much fun. It really was. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and comment below. What did you do for Valentine's Day? And while you're there, fucking like and subscribe. And you know what they say, smash that like button. But yeah, and if you're listening on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts, rate and review, please. I truly would appreciate that. So I had this great Valentine's Day with my son. We also had this amazing moment. Okay, so he has like my old Wii U, and then I have a Nintendo 3DS that he plays on, and he has games on his iPad or whatever. And for the last, I don't know, year and a half, maybe 2 years, he's been getting into video games, which is awesome. It's been great just for him, you know, for having fun and being creative, but it's also dramatically, you know, when he started, like, it dramatically improved his hand-eye coordination. He was also allowed him to pick up reading because there's constantly cues, you know, for read, start, stop, okay, continue, press A, press B, whatever. So it definitely helped with that too. And then watching him going from, like, every time it would be a prompt on the screen, and then he'd have to look down to see what button it was and then press it. And now he's kind of very fluidly starting to press the buttons. And we've been kind of transitioning to some games on my computer. And I try not to do it too much because I need my computer for work, and I play games on my computer, but, like, I'm very gentle with my computer. So I try to be a little cautious just for safety stuff. But anyway, we play, like, the Goose Game, the Untitled Goose Game. If you've never played the Untitled Goose Game, I highly recommend playing the Untitled Goose Game. It's amazing. It's like, I describe it like this. Like, imagine you live in a small town and you're an asshole, but you're also a goose. It's great. So anyway, he wanted to play some other games. So I have like all the Lego games. So we started playing one of the, like, Batman Lego Batman Gotham 3 or something like that. Very fun. And we got to this part, and, like, I help him out, you know, it's like, because there are, you know, that, I mean, he's 5 going on 6, but there are, like, a lot of legitimately, like, challenging puzzles. Like, even for me, I'm like, what the fuck am I supposed to do here? So I'll help him out, but I usually don't help him when it's, you know, just like he's overwhelmed with enemies or something like that. I'm like, nah, man, go for it. It's fine. Just go for it. And then we got to this one part. So I forgot what exactly happens, but there's a part where, as Lego Batman, you go into, like, this virtual world for a little bit, and it's kind of all, the ground is all, like, cubes. And you have to run around, and one thing popped up, and it just kind of did an overview, like, the camera panned over the top, like, top-down view of a maze, and then you had to get through the maze. And that dude ran through that maze in one try. Like, he just instantly remembered what it was and went right through. It was crazy. Like, they didn't, like, show the solution. They just panned over the top of it, and then they put you at the start, and then you had to get through the end. And he did it right away. It was amazing. I was legitimately blown away. And then there's another level where you have to kind of, like, you know, navigate through a thing. But then you get to this part where you're at, imagine, like, a square, a large square, and you're at the bottom right corner, and you need to get to the top left corner, okay? And all the ground are just cubes. Now, if it was flat, you would just run diagonally up. But in this, the ground kind of, like, comes up and down in waves, and it rolls under, and it disappears under you too. So you have to move quickly. And then also, as it starts coming up and down, the cubes start changing levels, and you can't just run across it anymore. You have to jump across the cubes. I'm probably not explaining this super well, but whatever. And there's a little bit of challenge. There's a timing and coordination challenge, and just you know, navigating the correct direction, because you can't see the end. Like you kind of know it's over there, but you can't really see where you're going necessarily. And he's doing this part and he's dying again and again and again. And after like a couple tries, he goes, and I could see when you die in that game, you can die a lot. And it just kind of takes away coins that you've collected. And when you get to 0, then your game is over, I guess. And the coins start coming down. And I know that he's got like a lot of chances left. But it is hard, and he's struggling with it. It's hard. And he asks, like, will you help me? Meaning, will you do it? And I was like, nope. But I was explaining like things he could try to proceed and to win. And I could tell he was like getting like, oh fuck, this is hard, because he kept dying. And I'm also like in the back, like cheering him on. And when he dies, I'm like, ah, it's exciting and we're having fun. And I flash back to when I was a kid, his age, probably a little older, and playing Nintendo and Atari and then Super Nintendo and Genesis, where like there were no saves. This game has saves, but they're not all the time, and you can't save anywhere. You do have to like find save points. But when I was a kid, there were no saves. If you died, you just had to start over. And there was also no physics in those games, so shit was really hard. There's physics in these games, which is great, but this thing was challenging for him, and he kept dying over and over and over. I mean, we were probably 10 minutes. We're playing this one part, and he just keeps dying. It probably wasn't 10 minutes. I'm probably exaggerating. So I'm explaining to him like, okay, wait to go, because there's no floor there. And then as I tell him like, don't wait for the floor to come all the way up so it's already safe, because then when you start running, the levels will change. You're gonna have to start jumping on top of these cubes, and as you're jumping, you're gonna get slow, and then the ground's gonna disappear underneath you, and you're gonna fall and you're gonna die. So you need to, once the ground starts coming up, you need to jump, even though it doesn't look like it's ready. It'll be ready by the time you land on it, and then just start running. And you have to run diagonally up and to the left. And like sometimes he would go straight up and then have to come back down and then cut to the left. And I was like, no, you just need to go straight up, or directly diagonal left. And he keeps dying, and he keeps dying, and he keeps dying. And he started at like 64,000 coins, and now it's down. It cuts by like, I don't know, 5,000 every time or something like that, or 10,000, whatever it was. And now we're down to like 8,000, 6,000, 2,000. And this is his last chance. And I'm like, you can do it. And I'm telling him like, don't give up. I want you to stay calm. And because he'd start panicking when he's getting close, because he'd get close a lot, and he would die right then. So I'm like, stay calm. You got this. You can do this. Don't give up. Just because it's hard doesn't mean you would give up. And I was like, okay, ready? You're going to do it. You got it this time. You ready? He's like, yeah. I say, when I say go, don't wait. Don't be, just as soon as I say go, just go and just run, and you can do this. And I said go, and he takes off, and he's going, and I'm like, yes, do it. You got this, man. You got this, blah, blah. Keep going the same direction. You're good. And he's holding it up in that, and he's not twisting it, and he's going in the right direction, and he fucking gets it. And I scream, I throw up my hands. Yeah, dude. And I am so fucking pumped, and I'm hyping him up to no end. And the smile and glow across his face was the best thing that's happened in I don't know how long. It was so amazing. It was so amazing. He was so excited. He was so happy. And I like, not only like do I know that, I know that feeling, but I also see what a valuable lesson it is. And like, that's why when people talk shit about video games, I'm like, you have no idea what you're talking about. Because you do get those lessons. It's the same thing with like skateboarders. When you look at kids skateboarding and they do a trick, like the hours it took them to do that trick, and the amount of times they fell on their ass, and they busted their lip, or they tweaked their wrist, or they rolled their ankle over and over and over until they finally fucking got that trick. It's the same shit that happens in a video game. Now you argue, well, it's not physical. Yeah, some things aren't physical. So what? Math isn't physical either. But the lessons you get from that, like, no, you can't give up. And also, I'm not going to help you. I'm going to be right here. I'll be right here. I'll cheerlead the fuck out of you. And I'll coach you. I'll give you tips. But you're going to do this. You are going to do this. And you're going to win. And you're going to fail a bunch of times before you win. But you are going to win. And to watch him see that process and then at the end go like, I did it. Man. It was the best. It was the best. It's something I'll never forget. And I hope he doesn't either. I mean, he's going to have a lot of moments like that. So, you know, he'll just internalize this one. You know, one day he may not remember it, but it was great. It was so great. I really loved it. Yeah. So it was a good weekend. We had a good weekend. It was also last week I told him that I would start doing an allowance with him. And so, you know, he asked what it was, and I explained what an allowance is. And I said, you know, you're going to have a couple chores. He already does chores. Like, he's really good about it. If I asked him to clean up his room, he just cleans up his room, or make his bed, he just does it. You know, when we're done with a meal, he'll just bring his plate to the sink and set it in the sink. Like, you know, if I say it's time to eat, he'll just go and wash his hands. He's amazing. But I want him to start learning about, you know, work, and then a reward for your work, and, you know, some discipline in order to get something you want. And I told him, like, for right now, all you got to do is just make your bed every morning, and then make sure your room is clean every night. That's all we're starting with. And then if you do that every day, at the end of the week, I'll give you $1. And he did. He was excited to do it. He loves doing that stuff anyway. Like, he'll, you know, if I go, it's time for dinner, and then I leave to go wash my hands or use the restroom, when I come back, he'll have already, like, laid the napkins out and, like, put our forks there. Like, he likes doing that. I think most kids do. They like participating. They like feeling, not like an adult, but that they can, in a sense, be your equal, and they love it when you're proud of them. So we did an allowance, and I gave him that $1, and he put it in he has like a piggy bank, Spider-Man piggy bank thing. And he was like, what can I buy? I was like, you can do whatever you want with it. But I was like, can I give you a suggestion? He said, yeah. I said, for this money, it's good if you save it. Now, I'll eventually get into, like, investing and what he can do with that money to make it grow more. Like, I want him to learn this shit young. I don't want him, like me, I didn't understand or learn this stuff. And I'm still kind of just barely understanding and learning it until now. I'm 38. I don't want him to wait till 38 to know about investing and, you know. But anyway, I told him, well, it might be a good idea to just hold it, stick it in your piggy bank, and save it. And then maybe at the end of the year, there'll be something that you really want, and you'll have the money to buy it. And so he did. He was very excited about that. And I'm excited to, like, teach him, okay, it costs, something that you want costs X amount of dollars. And you have this much, so you need this much more to get it. And then, you know, so that you're going to have to work and do that. I'm very excited to go through those things with him. It's awesome. So I just had a good fucking weekend, which was really necessary after the shittiest week of, like, that bullshit impeachment trial. I'm not going to get too into it because I don't want to, like, get all heated. But, man, we all knew that the Republicans were not going to impeach Trump. Like, we knew. So it's not a surprise. And the Democrats actually did an amazing job in the trial, shockingly. They weren't spineless, and they did some shit. And the Republicans are a monstrous murder cult, and they did what a monstrous murder cult does, and they protected their leader. Great. So it's like, it wasn't surprising, but it still hurts, and it's still shocking, even though it's not surprising that he was acquitted for all this shit. And then right after, you know, that zombie turtle man, Mitch McConnell, is like, yeah, I voted. This motherfucker goes like, we can't impeach him because he's only got a week left in office. And then afterwards he goes like, now we can't impeach him because he's not the president anymore. So he denied there to be a trial while he was the president, and he denied there to be a conviction because he wasn't the president. And then right after, moments after, they say he's not, that he's acquitted. Moments after he's acquitted, McConnell goes like, yeah, he did all that shit. He said it on record. He stood before all of them and was like, yeah, he absolutely incited that riot. We're fucking, like 7 or 8 people died, including police officers. They beat police officers to death with a fucking fire extinguisher and shit. Like, this country is trash. It is trash. But anyway, I don't want to get in on all that. Needless to say, it was a wonderful weekend that I appreciated, immensely after the stress of, the verdict of that trial. I think I stress ate like, I think I was just like midnight. I was just like eating bread with fucking jelly on it. Like, I was upset. But yeah, I'm, it's weird. Like, so I'm going to do the Dark Knight next week, by the way. I didn't do it this week because I can't, there's no time for me to watch movies on the weeks I have my son. But there's like nonstop hype for the Zack Snyder Justice League movie that's finally going to come out after 4 years. And I'm going to watch it, and I actually want to watch it. I don't know why, because like Batman vs Superman was not good. Superman, that first Superman movie was not great. It's not terrible, but it's just not great. I'm not really a Zack Snyder fan, but like I am kind of looking, I don't know why I'm looking forward to watching it, but just like the relentless hype up for it. It's like, just put the fucking movie out now. It's 4 years. There were campaigns. I was like, I don't give a shit about this, but anyway, I don't know. It's working though. Yeah, as much as I'm annoyed by constantly seeing like, there's another trailer. I haven't watched any of the trailers, but there's another trailer. Here's a new poster. Here's a new screenshot. I'm like, I don't care, but it's also working. It's very odd. So what is that? Next month, I think, right? When does that come out? Let's see. I'm pretty sure it's next month. Snyder Cut. 4 hours long. Jesus. That's going to be rough. March 18th. So yeah, a month. It's a month away. Yeah, I'm excited. I don't know why. I mean, obviously I did a review of Wonder Woman on here and I hated it. Justice League is awful. Batman vs Superman is terrible. The Justice League, Suicide Squad was terrible. But the Justice League movie was really bad. Though the Joss Whedon one was really bad. Oh, I got something else going on. Like, all these actors are coming forward about Joss Whedon being just a terrible person. Here's the thing. A lot of people, I hear people, and this not just in this situation, but in all these situations, when actors come forward years later, and people's response is like, why didn't you come forward sooner? Which is a bullshit thing to say to somebody. Or whatever. So that's like the main thing. It's like, well, why didn't you come forward earlier? And how come everybody's ganging up on him now? And shit like that. And what you need to understand, like I grew up around the film industry, and the stories about directors and producers screaming at crew is shockingly common. There are a lot of directors, and I'm not saying like they get uppity and they're a little grumpy, like a boss that's kind of a dick. No, like full on screaming, like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why are you doing like shit like that? And producers and also, so very hostile work environments and being sexually inappropriate. Like those stories I've heard 100 times. I've grown up around all that shit, and it's not weird to hear it. And as I got older, I would ask, why don't you guys do anything about it? Why do you put up with that? And for me, like even with work, in my first jobs, I mean, maybe not my very, no, even my first job when I was a kid, 16, 17, 18, like my first job, I think I was there for 2 years. I started when I was 16, and I yelled back at my boss, like, don't fucking talk to me like that. Like, I don't care who you are. And when I worked at Mercedes, I was 18, 19 to 20, I think. And same thing. Who the fuck are you talking to? If you have something to say, just say it. You don't talk down to me like that, and blah, blah, blah. My next job, when I worked in finance, I had my boss, like, I was on the phone in my office, he was on the phone in his, and I worked for him. Like, I was learning under him, and he was on the phone. He came into my office looking for a file for one of our clients, and he like snapped at me to get him information. And I hung up my phone. I hung up his phone. I was like, if you do that again, I'll fucking put your teeth down your throat. Like, don't snap at me. What the fuck is wrong with you? I'm a person. So I'm very confrontational like that. So when I hear these stories about your director screaming at crew, like, why the fuck are you doing it like this? I said this and this, but and I'd ask, like, why don't you guys say, like, tell him to go fuck himself or report him or whatever. And what you need to understand about this shit is, like, that industry is designed and set up and has made its, trillions of dollars by protecting the abusers and punishing the victims. That's what that industry does. So if you speak up, you're going to get fired. And if you go to HR and speak up, you're going to get fired and then blacklisted and not hired again. And there goes your career. This thing that you're passionate about, that you love, that you work so hard for, gone. Just because. So what everybody does is they just keep their mouth shut and they just ride it out until they get to their next project. It's a movie. It's only going to be 3 months. Fuck it. I'll just, keep my head down so I can keep working. And it sucks. That is fucked up, but that's the way it works. So when actors come out years later, most actors are young. Like, when they start, they're young. And when they get on these projects, they're kids, 20 years old. You're a kid. You don't know what the fuck to do. And also you worked your ass off and you got lucky to get a shot. Not luck about your skill as an actor, but just luck to get the shot. There's a million people in line and you got lucky to be chosen. There are people, if you're an actor, there's someone better than you. There's someone who's working harder than you, but they just don't get the shot for whatever reason. So you're in this position. You hopefully, you realize, like, one, you're super green, so you're not calling the shots. And you're very lucky and fortunate, and these chances are few and far between, so you got to take them. So it's like, you don't know what the fuck to do. Some asshole director is like, you're putting you on TV, and now he's screaming at you or sexually harassing you, and you don't know what the fuck to do. You feel you maybe look around for support, but everybody's keeping their head down because they also want to keep their jobs, not out of some selfish shit, but they have a family to feed and bills to pay just like everybody else, and that's the way it goes. So, before you go, well, they should have come out earlier. And this is also, with anything, people do it with rape victims or anything. It's not that easy when you're in the situation to speak up. And also some people that's just not their personality, or they have previous trauma and now they're scared to do it, or they're advised not to do it. That also happens a ton in the industry. Like, don't say anything. We'll talk to him, but they don't. So yeah, all this stuff is coming out about Joss Whedon being, kind of a scumbag and just like a shitty person screaming at people, being very hostile and threatening. And good for these actors for coming out. Doesn't matter how long it takes. I mean, good for them. So I think like Ray Fisher from Justice League and Charisma Carpenter from Buffy, and I saw David Boreanaz and Michelle Trachtenberg. Is that her name? She's so hot. Sorry, I didn't mean to like. That's the thing I go to, but she is very pretty. And she's very likable too. I like her a lot. But they all came forward in support, and it's like, good for them. Fucking good for them. They're grown now. They're in their 30s, or probably 30s, maybe 40s. And they're old enough to have the courage and strength and hindsight and foresight to stand up and hopefully protect other people. And like, they're not trying to make a name for themselves or anything like that. They're already actors. They're already doing the thing. But good for them for standing up amidst. And again, they can still be blacklisted and they can still be, fired or harassed for this shit. So it's like they still are potentially jeopardizing their careers. But they're willing to do it to, change this horrible system. The film industry is a monster. Entertainment industry is a monster. It chews you up, and that's how it's functioned for so long. It feeds off of fear and insecurity and greed and lust, and it's just all the insatiable qualities that a normal person has little pieces of and keeps in check. The industry, basically any industry, is just amplifying those things, and it's obviously not sustainable. So, yeah, but it doesn't wear out the system; it wears out the people in the system. And so good for these actors for stepping forward and doing something about it and trying to make a change, because it's hard. It's hard. They're up against a lot of shit, and good for them. It sucks that people's immediate response is, "Oh, fuck them," or "They're wrong," or why didn't they do it before? Like, what does that even matter? I remember, like, with my ex-wife, that would be a thing all the time. Or even my ex-girlfriend after her. If I brought something up later, the response wouldn't be like, "Oh my God, let's talk about that. Let me help you," or "What happened? I'm so," or whatever. It would just be like, "How come you didn't tell me sooner?" Like, that's the thing that you're focusing on. Like, who fucking cares? What does that matter? How does that help? So, don't do that to people. If somebody tells you something, just live in that moment and then deal with it when they're saying it. It doesn't matter why they didn't say it earlier. And if you are really curious, deal with the shit first and then ask. Like, "Hey, I'm just curious, now that we've talked about it or dealt with it, is there a reason you didn't tell me earlier?" Not like, "Why didn't you tell me?" That's very accusatory. But like, is there a reason you didn't? Because here's the thing. If you're putting off a vibe that you're unapproachable or something, you should want to know to make a change to that. And if it's not that and it's something else, like they need help, and this person that you care about needs help in some other areas, you should want to know that too. So anyway, I don't know, whatever. I don't know what else I wanted to talk about. I'm 2 episodes behind on WandaVision. Really enjoying it. It's fun. I just like that it's different, that they're actually trying something new. I missed like a handful of the movies in the MCU, but I don't really care because I got really burnt out with their storytelling. While everything was decent enough quality, some were good, some were not great, but I just got so burnt out of it, and it just started to be like, all right, enough is enough. But the WandaVision stuff is actually very interesting, and the story itself is very heartbreaking and interesting. Some of the acting seems a little clunky, not from Elizabeth Olsen and the dude who plays Vision. They're fantastic. And the woman who's playing the neighbor, Agnes, who is in like The Visit and Parks and Rec. She was on Parks and Rec. She was what's her name? Jen Barkley, the woman who helps Bobby Newport run for, what was it, city council or whatever, and then gets Ben a job in Washington and all that stuff. And she's great. But I'm really excited that it looks like the main big bad villain, at least for a little while, is going to be Mephisto. Like, they haven't said it, but, all signs are pointing to yes. And that really, really excites me, because my favorite comic of all time is a Mephisto book. I mean, it's a Doctor Strange and Doctor Doom story called Triumph and Torment, where the Ancient One holds a contest to see who his successor will be, and also all these sorcerers show up. Obviously, Doctor Strange is there, and Doctor Doom shows up as well. And he ultimately loses to Doctor Strange, but the two of them are the best. And then Doctor Doom asks Doctor Strange to help him. So he does, and essentially they go to hell to get Doctor Doom's mom's soul and bring her back to Earth, or maybe let her soul go up to heaven. It's been a couple of years since I've read it again. But anyway, it's this beautiful, amazing story drawn insanely well by Mike Mignola. Mignola? I think that's how you say it. And because they're going to introduce Fantastic Four, which means they're going to have to introduce Doctor Doom. And I don't know, there is a chance, however small, that we could get a Triumph and Torment story movie. Here it is, actually. Where is it? My copy. Where is it? I have this hardcover. Here it is. I have this hardcover original print of it. Here it is right there. You see it? It's in focus. I fucking love this book so much. And there was a Mike Mignola signing, and he signed it. I got him to sign it right here. There it is. Right there. Boom. He also signed that Batman statue back there because that's his design, his Batman design. But this story is just, I love it so much. The art in here is amazing. There's this panel that I always, like, when I fantasize about having original panels. One of them, there are a handful, but one of them is this. Let me show you. I'll see if I can put this up on the screen too. God, I love this fucking book. But it's this one right here, where Mephisto reveals himself to Doctor Doom and Doctor Strange, and he pops up behind them, and they spin around, and nothing in Hades long escapes the notice of Mephisto. Pitiful fools, I reserve a very special circle of my kingdom for trespassers. But you are hardly ordinary trespassers, are you? So good. I know I did a very dry reading of that. Whatever. But I love this book, and there's a chance that, at the very least, Doctor Doom, Doctor Strange, and Mephisto could be in the same room at the same time in the same story. And that makes me hard. Oh, I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you for listening. If you're listening on iTunes, please rate and review. Please, just leave a review and give me those 5 stars. Give me those fucking stars. And if you're watching on YouTube, smash like. That's what the kids say, right? Hit that notification bell, subscribe, and I'll be back next week. Next week is going to be The Dark Knight, the masterpiece of the Nolan trilogy. Obviously, we'll see if that is true. I remember liking it. I remember a lot of good things about it. But as you know from my Batman Begins review last week, I think Batman Begins kind of bat sucks, and we will see if Dark Knight also kind of bat sucks, or Night sucks night, sucks bat, sucks butt. We'll see if it sucks butt. Thanks for listening, guys. Be well, do good, make healthy choices. Peace.